Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lehr. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Work It, Live It, Own It. Today, I am joined by a special guest. This particular guest I have known for the past couple of decades. I can't believe I'm saying that, but we have known each other since high school. Javoris Pollard is a serial entrepreneur. And guys, I can firmly attest to that. He is one of those guys who thinks outside the box. He's innovative when it comes to design, to real estate, to fix and flipping properties. So I wanted to bring him on to talk about his entrepreneurial journey, since he is a serial entrepreneur, but then also delve into the realm of real estate and real estate investing, more particularly on what it's like to fix and flip properties. So welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, Javoris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the compliment as well. So
No problem.
yeah.
So Javoris, let's dive right in.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming on to the show, but can you just share with us? I know a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey from high school, but tell us what really inspired you to become an entrepreneur at such an early age.
Well, now you want me to go back to high school?
Go back to
Or
whatever inspired you to
I
say,
got
you know
you.
what, hey.
Yeah, I got you. You know what? Every part of my entrepreneurship journey has been through, I would say, trial and tribulation or problem. I was always of abnormal size, bigger than everybody else. And when we went to the clothing stores in the mall, I wanted to look a certain way. Things didn't fit, so I decided to start making clothes. Actually, my mom taught me how to make clothes, and I decided that maybe I could turn this into a business. People always kind of like what my style and what I wore, and so I started selling T-shirts and making clothes for people back in Fayetteville early,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that was what in the early '90s. I'm kind of dating myself. Late '90s. Late '90s. Yeah, we can edit that out.
Look, look, I was about to go there with the brands that were out there rocking at the time, but I was like, no,
Oh
if we do
man.
that, we're gonna date ourselves. We're gonna date
Okay.
ourselves if we do
Yeah.
that. But that's okay. That was
Mm-hmm.
when we wore very colorful fashions, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the bright colored jeans. I'll just
Yeah.
put it that way. But
Yeah.
I
I had
can
all
attest to
that.
that, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's what's I always been like a different type of person, like a artsy kid, kind of creative, always like drew and had ideas. And, I wanted to bring it to life somehow. So how I express my creativity, I first started off like drawing, painting, and then it went into clothing. And then how I got into the business of or being a true entrepreneur and not just someone who's hustling or have a side hustle came later in life when I got married. So
Mhm.
me and my wife, we got married early in life. I was in my early 20s. I think I was like 22. We didn't know anything about, trying to make it in life. We just knew that we were going to get married and make it work. And so I did all
Mhm.
type of jobs and it just wasn't working for me. And being younger, even before I started making clothes, I used to go around and cut grass. I always felt like, I could make my own path. When I hit the real world, it wasn't so easy. We didn't have the internet and social media and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok back then. So it was really, a grassroots movement where we hit the streets. We got our product in the trunk and it was just tough, especially being in Fayetteville as well. You know,
Yeah.
you know how Fayetteville is. It's a small city. It's home, but it's not the land of opportunity. Let's just say that. And go ahead. What you gonna say?
No, I'm nodding saying yeah.
Yeah, no knock against Fayetteville. It's still home, but
Yes.
just at the time, it wasn't much opportunity to be able to grow and flourish. And so when we got married, we moved to Raleigh, and I worked all kind of jobs, and I just wasn't the man that I wanted to be. And it's just I wasn't making enough money. Um, at the time, I was a lot bigger. And so I was just depressed and I just needed to figure some things out. And I would think I was working when I first got the idea to work or start in real estate. I had a friend who was from Fayetteville. He was in real estate. And he said, man, if you want to get your money up, get into real estate. And I thought about that for maybe a year or two. And then I tried to get my license in, I think it was 2009. I was working at Crown Honda at the time and tried to get my license, was going to school, working in the daytime, going to school at night. Got in class, failed the first time, jumped right back into the second class, failed the first exam, and then you could take a retest. I finally passed the second one. And then I waited like 5 months to take the state exam. Everything I learned went right out the window. And I took that test probably like 6 or 7 times. I couldn't pass it. Life kicked back in. So I had to go back to doing, trying to survive. And I think I got into the insurance business, which was started off pretty good, but it was very up and down. And I ended up working at corporate America, Fidelity, which I hated. And I was just sitting at my cubicle one day and I was like, this is not it. And I had a friend at the time. He was like, look, write your dreams down, your goals, ask God to bless it and take it from there. And that's what I did. And probably a few weeks later, I got fired from that job. And I told myself, this is the last time that I let somebody else dictate my livelihood, my finances, and just, my time and my freedom. And so 2014, I went back to real estate school, finally passed the state exam. And at the beginning of 2015, I hit the ground running in real estate and general brokerage. So did pretty good with that. And 2016 rolled around and my mom had a stroke. And when she had that stroke, that kind of changed the trajectory of, well, let me rephrase that. It changed our family dynamics because it was such a major situation. Life just changed totally. And I just had a inclination or the deep desire that I need to get to another level in life. And I was thinking I'm gonna flip houses. But before my mom had that stroke, me and my wife, we bid on a foreclosure. And we actually won. And so when we bought our foreclosure, we were fixing up the property. And I was thinking this is going to be our first investment property at some point. We're living in for a while and then it'll be a rental. And a few months later, that's when the stroke happened. At the same time, I had a good friend, the same friend who told me to write my goals down. He had a traumatic life event as well. His wife was diagnosed with dementia. And so we were talking one day, just talking about our new abnormals, new abnormal normals. And I was telling him, I said, man, I need to get to another level in life. I was like, I'm gonna start flipping houses. I don't know where that came from. It's just a thought that came in my head. And he was like, man, I think I can help you with that. And that was 2016. I think that was like September 2016. In December, we were at the courthouse bidding on properties. And ever since then, we've been flipping ever since. So
thank you for sharing your journey.
Yeah.
And I can attest to the fact that you are an innovative person. And I do remember those days of walking in the hall and people asking you, I'm not going to say your nickname back then, but they were like, hey, yo, they were like, hey, yo, 40, where did you get that? And his designs, his clothing designs, guys, were absolutely crazy. And I was so proud. It was like, man, he is doing it, because like you said, going to the store, you can't always find what you find, even for women. You can't always find something that's going to fit you if you're curvy or if you're ultra skinny. Sometimes it's challenging, or even petite is very challenging. And I come from a whole 3 generations of seamstresses, and I'm still learning how to sew. And sometimes I get that thought like, you know what? I'm tired of going out here allowing someone else to dictate to me what I should wear, how I should look.
Exactly.
make your own. So you did that, and you've had a lot of bumps and bruises along
Yeah,
the way.
for sure.
But there was something within you, internally within you, as a driving force to say, you know
Hmm.
what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to keep going, pick myself up, dust myself off.
Yeah.
But you also reached out to people. You didn't stay isolated, but you reached out to people who were a good influence, a positive influence on
Hmm.
you to guide you in the right
For
direction.
sure.
And I'm pretty sure there might have been some people in your life that might have said, man, no, that's a crapshoot dream. No,
Oh yeah,
that ain't real. But you listen to the people who could actually lift you higher.
definitely.
And here you are to
Yeah.
where you are right now. You have your own firm.
Hmm.
You and your wife. I just love what you guys do. I see your work on Instagram. And I do remember one of the houses you did flip back in our hometown, and I saw pictures of it. And I was like, man, that thing is nice. Because I think it was right around the corner from where my mom lives. And I
Really?
was like, man, that home. Yeah. I was like, man, that home is nice. 'Cause I remember how it looked before.
Hmm.
And then I saw pictures of it after. I was like, whoa, that looked like something that should be on TV.
Oh,
And
thank you.
even
Hmm.
your stuff now that I've seen you and your wife do, it is phenomenal. And
Thank you.
I see the before, I see the middle,
Yeah.
I see the after. And I'm so glad that you show that process,
Yeah.
because everybody gets to see, the final product, but you actually are now diving into the realm of educating
Yeah.
people on how to do the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, what are some key factors
Hmm.
that you and your wife consider when identifying potential fix and flip properties in today's real estate market?
Yeah. So it's a lot of factors to consider. And let me just say this: the one reason why I do show a lot of the process of it, because people see it before and after, they don't see the everything that goes on in between. That
Mhm.
process. It's a lot that goes into finding a house, and basically you're taking a piece of trash and you tearing it down even more. You're trashing it and demolishing it even more to build it back up to something new. So it's definitely not easy, but it can be lucrative and it's very enjoyable. But how I identify properties, it's it's kind of a simple formula in theory. Um,
Mhm.
First is the location. Location is rank supreme. I have people that send me deals all the time, and the first thing I want to know is where is it? If it's a city I never heard of, I'm probably not even gonna bother wasting my time even
Mhm.
looking any further into it. So number one is location. Where is it? Once I identify, okay, I think this is a good location, Wake County, Durham County, so forth and so on. Then I'm looking at what's the acquisition? How much can I buy this property for? What's the scope of work? The budget? How much is going to take me to make this property brand new? My after repair value or ARV. And then I'm looking at the dynamics of the neighborhood. Like what's the average days on market, which is very important because that's going to tell me the desirability of the area. If an average DOM or days on market is 90 days or more, then I'm probably not going to touch it. But it just come with knowing your numbers and doing your research. So acquisition, scope of work, days on market, my ARV, and then I take that formula and then I work it backwards. So my ARVs, for example, say it's 500,000. What I think I could sell this house for. So what did I buy it for? Say I bought it for 200,000. I put another 100,000 into it, so it's 300,000, and then I have my entry closing costs. This is going to be my where you sit down at the closing table, attorney fees, insurance, loan origination points, inspection fees, so forth and so on.
Mhm.
Then how much am I? What are my holding costs? Utilities, interest, um, and then my exit closing costs. So exit closing costs is when you sell the property. I'm a realtor as well, so I sell my own property, so I keep majority of the commission, but I still got to pay the buyer agent. So that's another 2.4% to 3% that I'm paying.
Mhm.
So I got to deduct all those fees, and there is deed prep, little things like that, and that gives me my net profit before tax. So let's just say my gross profit. So
Okay.
a quick formula that someone can use that you don't want to spend a lot of time and you just kind of assessing properties on the fly, I try to buy properties at between 70, more like 60%, 65% of the market value, not the ARV, but the market value. So I take the market value, say a house is 300,000, 60% of that is, I don't know, what's that? I can't do the math. But anyway, 60% of 300,000, and then an estimated subtraction of my scope of work, if that makes sense.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
and that number will give me a good range of, okay, I know this is a good deal. If I can buy it at 60% of the market value, even set up to 70%, and then minus my estimated scope of work, that's a good range to be in. Also, too, is a very key factor, and then determining if you have a good opportunity, is having multiple exit strategies. So if you're buying a house to flip, say you want to hold on to the property, you don't want to flip. You want to hold it for a short-term rental, or more people know as Airbnb, or a long-term rental. So can you still rehab this property, get it refinanced, and then still make money? Can you have all your PITIs, what we call it, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? Can you still make money or have cash flow? So you don't want to get stuck with a property, because things can happen, especially in this business. The market can change, interest rates go through the roof, the pandemic, you never know what happens. So you need to be able to have multiple exit strategies, or different strategies is going to work. So.
Right. And I've seen you even fixing and flipping properties during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so fortunately for you, you're in a market. You're in that triangle area of North Carolina where the market is hot anyway. It's hot and popping. My market, I'm kind of straddling between triangle and part of the triad.
Okay.
So our markets are hot where
Yeah.
we are. And so you're fortunate. And then, like you're saying, with the multiple exit strategies, you got to pick a property too if it's got HOAs or got some type of covenants where they're cracking down on short-term rentals like Airbnbs. That's something else that you have to look at. So I know you were talking about giving us a figure of $300,000, which I think you said 6% of that was
60.
probably like 180,
Yep.
60%. Okay. So to get started, if someone wanted to get started, I noticed you talked about you and your wife potentially buying a home, fixing it up, living in it for a while, which is one strategy to do.
Right.
But what if you're already living in a home and then you want to start doing fix and flips? How much money do you think someone needs to have? What are some routes they need to take to get the financing? Should they save up to start this journey? Should they finance it? What are some ways that they can get started in that?
Yeah. So it definitely, it's going to take some capital for sure. We use our own money, we use private money investors, and we use hard money lenders. So we use most of our houses, we use hard money lenders. The hard money lenders, they're a specific type of loan company. They only loan for real estate investment properties. So specifically, they loan to entities. You can't buy as a individual. So you need to have your business structure in place. As long as your business structure is in place, you're in good standing. They'll loan to you as long as the opportunity or the deal makes sense on paper. But you got to get to that point. And even if you're using hard money, you do need at least 20% as an inexperienced investor, at least 20% of the acquisition. Then you're going to need some money for closing costs. So I would say about 22, 23%. Now that's just to acquire the house. But the good thing about hard money, if you're going the hard money route, most of those firms will lend 100% of the scope of work. So if you're buying a house at, just say 200,000, your scope of work is 80,000, you're putting up 20% of that 200,000, that 80,000, they pay 100% of that. But you do need some credit. We utilize a lot of credit as well. And you do need some cash to kind of get your project going. And then once you are starting your process with your scope of work, the hard money companies will reimburse you as you make progress. For example, say you're starting a house and you're doing demo, paint and flooring. Say that's $20,000. So you'll need some capital or some credit or both to get started. Once that part of the project is complete, you'll call up the hard money company or submit your draw. They'll come in and inspect the property, and then they'll send you the money. They'll reimburse you. So it's a really good system to work in. But in order to get to that point, you do need the money to even deal with hard money companies. So I would say most people probably have a lot of people in their lives that have access to capital, have capital that will lend to an individual who is savvy enough or has a, a solid business structure or plan in place. You know what I mean? And so I would say tap in your sphere of influence, people that you know, your family members, your colleagues, and, offer them a return on their investment that's going to be worth it for them. But that's how we do it. Private money and hard money.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So one, save some money for yourself first.
You need some money.
Because you're going to have to put money down. And
yeah,
I know some people, my husband and I have talked about this, where sometimes you may not want to touch the equity in the home that you're living in. You can if you want to, but it's always good to have money set aside anyway for a rainy day, and make sure you don't touch your emergency fund. And then where can they go to find hard money lenders? So say, for example, do they just Google looking for hard money lenders, or should they just show up in the room like with an REIA, like a real estate investment association, to get connected to hard money lenders? What's the best route?
So you can Google. There's a ton of hard money lenders out there. They're not all equal, so you got to be very careful of who you're dealing with. I use a few companies. I use a company called Lender One. We use Lender Home before, and a company called Ground Floor. So Kiavi is another one. Do your research. No matter which company you use, do your research. Make sure you know the ins and outs of the agreement, your loan terms, so forth, and et cetera. But I also want to say this: a lot of people want to get in the business of flipping houses, and they let one or two things hold them back. And it's for one, you got to have the mindset. If you got the right mentality, nothing should stop you, even if you don't have access to the money. Like for me, when I started, we didn't have money like that. I just had my determination, my drive, and just the mentality. And then I just linked up with my partner who had access to capital, but I brought everything else to the table. I was hunting properties. I was in there working on them, painting, laying floors, designing the property, staging the property, selling it as a realtor. But my one piece of advice for a person who wants to get into business and don't have the capital, because you can't invest in real estate without capital, but it don't have to be your own capital. You just need access to it. And I say, get proficient at finding the deals, the opportunities. If you're good at finding the motivated seller with a house that has the equity, it's all you need, because you can have the lending set up, you can have the capital, you can have the team to work on a property. But if you don't have the property, you don't have business. You can't make money. If you can at least get to the seller and learn how to deal with people and create opportunities, then you should be able to make money off that property one way or another. Even if you're wholesaling that property, or you are doing a JV deal, joint venture, or you go to your source of your sphere of influence and say, hey, I got this house. The seller will sell it to me at this amount. If you can loan me this, I'll give you a return of that. So nothing should. It's mentality. It's your mindset. And I know that's easy to say, but it's really the truth. And that's kind of with life. You just got to be determined to hit your goals no matter what.
Right. And one general question I think that some people have, and thank you for delving into this and sharing your knowledge and expertise. is once they do acquire a property and they get over that hurdle of financing, you mentioned one important thing. You were in there rolling up your sleeves. You were learning
Mm-hmm.
how to do these things. So if they're not savvy, first of all, where did you learn to become savvy, to put down flooring and things of that nature? Because you may not be able to outsource and hire a
Yeah.
lot of people to come in. So how did you get your start? Where did you learn? YouTube? Because like I said, YouTube was just
Yeah.
growing back then.
Yeah. You too. When we bought our first, well, our second house at that point, our fix upper, I did the floors myself. I never laid floors. I never worked in a house ever. I just YouTube, watched a couple videos. Like, I can do this. And I just went from there. But, I would say too, that's just my mindset. I always feel like anything I want to accomplish, I'm going to accomplish it no matter what. I'm going to try. Nothing's going to hold me back. Of course, I do run into roadblocks and obstacles, but I just maneuver around it at some point. And so
Okay.
I will say I don't recommend trying to go into a house and fix it yourself unless you are savvy and you got that mindset. Or if it's a kind of a simple flip, maybe it's just paint, flooring, appliances, things of that. But when it comes to reconfiguring a floor plan or knocking down walls or, adding walls and rooms, electrical and plumbing, you want to hire the professionals for that stuff.
Right.
But
Get you a good general contractor.
yeah, get a good GC, and that's another very important piece of the puzzle. I've been in that situation where I work with GCs, and let's just say it motivated me to get my own license. So a few years ago, I got my GC license, and I run my own projects, and that's just because I had terrible experiences. So I'm glad you brought that up. If you're dealing with a GC, you got to vet that GC. You need to see his work, get some references, have a clear understanding of what they're going to provide, make sure everything is outlined, documented, have a time frame. It's so much that go into that because once you take a property and you take this $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 scope of work and place it in somebody else's hands, and you don't have that relationship built yet, the project is out of your control to a degree, and that's a terrible feeling to be in a situation where you show up to a house and you're trying to get this house done so you can make money and get this load off of you, and nobody is there. I've been in that situation, and it's a terrible feeling. So you do need to know how to deal with GCs and even subcontractors. Even if you're managing your own project, you need to know how to deal with people. And once you learn how to deal with people and manage people, if that's from a distance or up close, it's going to help you tremendously.
Right. So overall, being a people person, you've got to find the deals. You got to know how to talk to people
Yeah.
who may be trying to offload a property. Then you have to build those relationships as far as getting a GC, even your subcontractors, hard money lenders,
Mm-hmm.
having great communication skills is
Mm-hmm.
important. Now, the turnaround time frame, you might have touched on this. Once you acquire the property,
Mm-hmm.
how much time do you allow yourself to, depending on the scope of work, to
Mm-hmm.
turn around and flip that property? Is it about 90 days, 60 to 90 days?
It varies. I always think I can flip a house in 30 days. It don't always work that way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it varies. Depends on the scope of work. The two houses that we did in 23, and the first house we did in Durham, I intentionally sat on that house. I bought it in December of 22, but at that point, the interest rates was starting to go up, and it was a winter. I didn't want to rehab it and have it ready in the beginning or the end of winter, so I just sat on it a few months. I did the roof just to stop the leaking. So I sat in the house like 3 or 4 months before I started gambling. There was a gamble because I wanted to see if the market was going to turn around, and it thankfully it worked out. The gamble or the risk really paid off. The last house we did in Garner, we did this with it was a collaboration effort. I helped a friend flip a house. We turned that house in, I would say, about 35 days, and that was a major project as well. But I've had houses that have taken me 30 days, 2 months, 90 days. When I had projects when I wasn't in control, it took almost a year to get it done. So it really varies. But you want to be as efficient as possible when you're flipping a house. You don't want to, you need to be focused and have a team that's going to come in and get the job done and get in and out. So I would say from acquiring a property to getting it ready to put on the market, anywhere from 60 days or less, you're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah.
60 days or less. But again, unforeseen occurrences happen.
It does.
Market changes. So like you said, and I'm glad you brought that up, because fixing a property during the pandemic, especially when the market has been fluctuating like it has been, you have to take account into those things. So
yes,
you had the mindset. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes you think you can do it in 30 days, but then reality kicks in.
Yeah.
But you still got to stay motivated each and every day to get in there, roll up your sleeves to make sure things happen.
You do.
Well, Javoris, I want to thank you for taking the time, because I know you're a very busy individual. And I want to thank you for taking the time for actually sitting down and joining the Work It, Live It, Own It community. You know,
Yeah.
I love those shirts. I've been seeing those shirts. I might have to get me a Houze of Storm shirt.
I got you. Text me your size.
I know that's your design. Right.
Of course.
I know that's
You
your
already
design.
know.
That is your design. I already know. I love it with the J too, the one with the rooftop.
You're right.
The J. I like that one too. Yeah,
Thank
I like
you.
that one too. So
Appreciate you.
you guys, you got to check Javoris and his wife out at Houze of Storm. That's HOUZE of Storm. And Javoris, you have a program. You want to tell us about that program where you're actually delving into and educating people on the fix and flip side of real estate?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. So thank you for the opportunity. But our system that we created, I had this idea. Actually, a friend gave me this idea a few years ago, and in 2022, we really started like really thinking about it and putting a plan together. So the end of 23, we launched the Houze of Storm. It's called the Art and Power of Flipping, Houze of Storm signature course. And basically, we're teaching people how to flip houses, everything that I've learned throughout the years, from being able to find the property, a great opportunity, to being able to negotiate the property or negotiate the deal, finding the source for financing it, designing it, staging it, dealing with contractors, subcontractors, to even selling it. So that's available now, and it's 3 different levels right now. Whereas a person may just want to do just video on demand and kind of just, that person's not ready just yet. And we do also offer group coaching and one-on-one coaching. So we started it late last year, and already over 30% of our mentees have been successful in acquiring properties and capitalizing on it. So it is available.
Excellent.
Yeah. And soon we'll be launching another course, showing people how to get into short-term rental business, and also designing course. So that's on the way as well.
Yes. I love it. And where can they go to find that information?
So I'll have to send you the link, but if they go to houseofstorm.com, they can subscribe there. We'll get them in our system, and we also try to provide value as well. So once they go to the houseofstorm.com, they sign up, we'll send value, and then they have the option to look at what we offer and see if it's a fit for them or not.
Okay. All right. So guys, I'm going to put that web address in the show notes. And again, that's Houze of Storm, HOUZE of Storm.com. Right. And before you go, Javoris, I have a rapid fire question for you. So you're a man of many talents, but is there a skill or hobby that you've always wanted to pick up that you haven't tried yet?
A skill or hobby?
Yes.
That I haven't tried. I wouldn't say a particular skill or hobby, but that's a good question.
Because you've done so much.
I'll say this, 2024, I plan on building smaller houses or ADUs. So that's something that I really want to do. That's the plans. Yes. Yeah. So
yeah, we're going to have to talk about that, because that is a need.
It is.
In our state. It's a need nationwide, period. Especially where I am, because the home prices are increasing, but the people who have been here, the natives to our state, are working hard every single day, but yet still feel like they can't purchase a home because of the
Yeah,
prices are going up. And we need to find a way to pave a way to make housing more affordable for the people who have been here for a very long time.
I agree.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that later.
Okay.
I like that idea.
Cool.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, this wraps it up for this particular episode. If we want to hear from you, what are some burning questions that you have for Javoris and his team about fixing and flipping properties? Drop your comments and let's keep the conversation going. Also, we want you to share your experience when it comes to real estate investment strategies. Were there any takeaways that you've gotten today that we've discussed today? Share your experiences and challenges in the comments below, because your story might just inspire others in our community. Thanks again, Javoris, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise. Really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Likewise. Likewise. Thank you.
You're welcome. This wraps it up for this Work It, Live It, Own It episode. Don't forget to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives. Until next time, take care.